You've probably heard the saying, history is written by the victors, and this is especially true in the War of the Titans, even though it was a mythological war. You're probably also familiar with Kronos, the father of Zeus and other Greek gods. You probably even know Kronos ate his children, much to his wife's despair. The Titans are generally considered evil forces, but several were neutral or even benevolent, especially towards humans. For example, did you know Prometheus, the giver of fire, was also a Titan? He survived the War of the Titans, so how did the Titans get a reputation for being evil if their morality is more complicated than good and bad? Greek mythology is a beautiful collection of stories about the ancient Greek pantheon. Some stories seek to explain the seasons or the origin of certain flowers, while others offer morality lessons. The ancient Greeks intended these stories to entertain, educate, and explain the world around them, suggesting that myths are not pure fiction like many believe today. However, the supernatural forces in Greek mythology extend beyond the gods. Before the gods, the Titans ruled the world. The Titans were more violent than the gods and were terrified their children would overthrow them. Their rule ended with the War of the Titans when the gods finally rose up and defeated them, wrenching control of the universe for themselves. But what led to the War of the Titans? Even though this is a mythological war, the ancient Greek myths still have much to teach us about our world today. By examining the causes of the War of the Titans, we can learn a little more about ourselves and take some guidance about our real lives. Who were the Titans? The Titans were the direct ancestors of the Olympian gods, but they were not the first beings in creation. There are several versions of the Greek creation myth, but the most popular is Hesiod's Theogony, written around 700 BCE. According to Hesiod, there was only chaos in the beginning. Chaos was genderless and careless, living in a space without order or structure. There was only darkness, for some reason. Chaos created Nyx out of the darkness, making her the goddess of the night. Chaos and Nyx created Erebus, who then took Nyx as his wife and had children with her. Their children married and produced primeval deities. One primordial born during this time was Gaia, or the Earth. She gave birth to Uranus and Pontus, the heavens and the ocean, respectively. Gaia took Uranus as her husband, and they sired the Titans and other creatures. Gaia gave birth to 12 Titans, including Oceanus, Rhea, Hyperion, Iapetus, and Kronos. However, her 12 children were not the only Titans in Greek mythology. Instead, they began taking spouses, sometimes even their own siblings. For example, Oceanus married Tethys, his sister, and had thousands of offspring, including Metis and Amphitrite. Iapetus married Clymene, the Oceanid, and fathered several children, including Prometheus and Atlas. The divisions between the Titans and the Olympian gods blur as you examine their family trees. The Olympians were also children of the Titans. Still, they separated themselves from other third-generation supernatural beings during the War of the Titans. The ones who survived the war without repercussions were often too busy with their duties to join the pantheon regularly, which is one reason we do not have many myths about them. The War of the Titans changed the supernatural social structure, and much of the war revolved around Kronos. He was the youngest Titan born from Gaia and Uranus. Kronos was power-hungry and a trickster. Uranus was not a kind father or husband, and eventually Gaia grew tired of him, especially when he rejected their youngest children. They were the Hecatoncheires and the Cyclopes. The Hecatoncheires had 100 hands and 50 heads, while the Cyclopes only had one eye. In disgust, Uranus threw his youngest children into Tartarus, throwing Gaia into a rage. She asked her other sons to castrate their father, giving them a flint sickle. However, no one except Kronos was brave enough to try. Hidden by his mother, Kronos ambushed his father and cut off Uranus's genitals, throwing them into the sea. The blood hit the ground and the sea, creating creatures like the Furies, the Giants, and Aphrodite. This violence marked the end of Uranus's rule. The ancient Greek deities entered a new age where the Titans ruled with Kronos as their leader. He soon proved to be as cruel as his father, eventually leading to the War of the Titans. What led up to the War of the Titans? Kronos established himself as the new king, ruling over the golden age of man. Some versions of the ancient Greek creation myths state Kronos was, at least initially, a just ruler. He was the god of the harvest, and humans lived to old age, often maintaining their youth for many years. The Golden Age was a peaceful and harmonious time for humankind. Sadly, peace and goodwill did not extend into the supernatural world. Kronos took Rhea, his sister, as his wife. Kronos was not pleased when she gave birth to her firstborn, Hestia. The most popular version of this myth says Kronos was warned in a prophecy that one of his children would overthrow him. Some versions say Kronos' parents warned him to be wary of his children, while others state Kronos realized his children could overthrow him like he had overthrown Uranus. To keep his power, Kronos quickly swallowed his first child. Understandably, Rhea was distraught. Kronos proceeded to eat each of their subsequent children, swallowing Hades, Demeter, Hera, and Poseidon as soon as they were born. While it kept them from immediately threatening his power, it also increased tension between Rhea and Kronos, to the point where Rhea began plotting Kronos' downfall. Some academics have posited that Kronos eating his children directly led to the War of the Titans. At the very least, it led to his marriage crumbling. Because the Olympian gods were not mortal, they didn't die when Kronos ate them, but they were still trapped with no hope of freeing themselves. By the time Rhea was pregnant with her sixth child, she was determined to watch this one grow up. She hid when she went into labor and managed to deliver her sixth child, Zeus, before Kronos arrived. She hid him and then wrapped a rock in swaddling clothes, presenting the rock to her husband. Kronos quickly swallowed the rock without realizing his mistake, leaving Zeus free to grow up on the island of Crete. He grew up into a powerful deity who resented his father. Rhea often visited, helping feed that resentment. Once he was old enough, he planned to retrieve his siblings and overthrow Kronos, although there are competing stories concerning who helped him execute his plan. Zeus married Metis, a Titaness Oceanid, and learned a potion to force his father to throw up his siblings. Convincing his father to drink the potion presented some challenges. Zeus disguised himself as a cupbearer, slowly winning the king's trust as he put together his plans to overthrow Kronos. Finally, Zeus was ready. He gave the potion to Kronos in a drink, forcing the king to vomit up the rock and Zeus's 5 siblings, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, Demeter, and Hestia. Zeus led them to Tartarus to gather reinforcements for the coming war. Even though Kronos was a cruel and unjust ruler, Zeus knew most of the Titans would take the king's side during the war. He decided to call upon the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires. Kronos had imprisoned them once again in Tartarus after taking over the world, which angered his mother. Some versions of the myth say Gaia suggested Zeus free her other children, helping him gather allies for the war. Zeus killed the dragon guarding Tartarus and freed the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires, who agreed to help him fight Kronos. The Cyclopes were so grateful that they even made new weapons for the gods. They made Zeus's lightning bolt, Poseidon's trident, and Hades' helmet of invisibility. From there, the forces descended into war. The Hecatoncheires threw rocks from Mount Olympus, which played a critical part in the Olympian victory. Kronos' action during his reign caused the War of the Titans. He was ultimately an unjust ruler, as shown by imprisoning the Cyclopes and Hecatoncheires without cause. He also attempted to thwart a prophecy by eating his children. Both actions were highly frowned upon in ancient Greek mythology. The ancient Greeks believed in fate, which often appeared in their mythology through prophecy. Unlike modern Western thought, the ancient Greeks believed one's destiny could not be avoided. Free will was subject to one's fate. Attempting to overcome, subvert, or prevent one's future, especially when foretold in a prophecy, always ended badly. This common motif in ancient Greek mythology is another reason for the War of the Titans. Kronos tried to avoid his fate and accidentally brought it to fruition violently. War was now unavoidable, and the Titans and Olympian gods squared off, fighting for control of ancient Greece in a decade-long fight that the Olympian gods eventually won. What were the repercussions of the War of the Titans? The War of the Titans had several causes that shaped Greek mythology, but the war also had several critical consequences. Most of the Titans had sided with Kronos during the war, except for Themis and Prometheus. This is why Prometheus was free shortly afterward to give humans fire, incur Zeus's wrath, and be doomed to having his liver eaten by a bird daily. During the 10 years of battle, Zeus used his lightning bolts to damage Mount Othrys, which had been taller than Mount Olympus before the war. But this conflict had more consequences than reshaping the mythical landscape of Greece. After the gods won, they imprisoned most of the Titans in Tartarus, guarded by the Hecatoncheires. Some Greek myths say Zeus later released some of the Titans after he had secured his power. But the Titan leaders during the war were not so lucky. There are several different versions of Kronos' fate. Some myths say Kronos was imprisoned in Tartarus with the other Titans. Others say he became the king of Elysium, the ancient Greek afterlife for those who had lived well. A more violent version says that Zeus cut Kronos into pieces after defeating him, dispersing the pieces in Tartarus to ensure he never rose to power again. However, Atlas also suffered for his role in the War of the Titans. He was Kronos' general, so as punishment, Atlas had to hold up the sky in the western corner of the world for eternity. Once the Titans were imprisoned or punished, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades drew lots to divide the world. Zeus controlled the sky, which helped him solidify his position as the new leader of the gods. Poseidon took the sea, and Hades took the underworld, which included the afterlife. No one controlled the earth. It was neutral territory accessible to all. The other gods took on other duties, such as the harvest or the sun, and all of the roles interacted to create the rich tapestry of ancient Greek mythology. The War of the Titans was a foundational part of Greek mythology, and its causes echo some of the embedded themes that continue to fascinate people today. Kronos' unjust leadership and hubris as he attempted to avoid his fate by eating his children caused a rebellion, eventually overthrowing his regime and establishing the Olympian gods. While the War of the Titans is mythological, there is still much we can learn from its causes about how to better live our lives. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Greek mythology, check out our book, Greek Mythology: Captivating Stories of the Ancient Olympians and Titans. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.